and I am completely committed to living my life purpose. So doing what my soul came here to do. And that is to have been a victim in the moment that I was hurt, to have survived my life the way that I survived it, and then to go on this amazing healing journey so I can pass it on to other people. And I've no
Yes.
doubt that is what my soul is here to do in this lifetime. And it lights me on fire. I'm super grateful for it, and I absolutely love doing the work.
Welcome, beautiful souls, to Say Yes to Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Tessa Lynn Auburn, and I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. This is the space where we empower women like you to connect deeply with your soul, to shine in your business, and live a life filled with purpose and joy. Whether you're seeking to embrace your inner brilliance, cultivate meaningful connections, or be generously compensated for the unique gifts you bring to the world, you've come to the right place. As we navigate the busyness of the new year, we'll explore how to honor the dark, restful days of winter and use them as an opportunity for soulful reflection and renewal. So get cozy, get present, and let's journey together into the season of transformation. Hello there. I am so excited to have a fabulous guest today, another amazing goddess woman. Her name is Beth, and I'm going to tell you more about her in a moment. She is the founder and creator of Empowered Survivors. She's also a healing mentor and inspirational speaker and best-selling author. She has a very, very deep passion for helping survivors of trauma and abuse to walk their healing pathways. And that led her to write her book called Becoming an Empowered Survivor. You too can heal from trauma and abuse. And she is leveraging her story of personal transformation. And this message is a beacon of inspiration and a testament to the power of healing. Through professional transformation, she's on her second mountain mentoring survivors as they walk their unique healing pathways. I want to welcome her here today. I think you're going to love what she has to say. I would like to welcome Beth Jones. Hey.
Thank you, Tessa. It's so great to be here with you today.
You are so welcome. And I really enjoy getting to meet you. I met you a couple months ago in Texas, of all places. And who knew Texas has such amazing people? Of course they do. They're a very big state. Yes. And you have some things you would like to share with our listeners today about how what you were going through and how you turned it around and became what you call an empowered survivor, not just a survivor, right? And that's a huge distinction. Yeah. And so you went through a lot of radical change and transformation. And I'd love for you to just jump on in with some juiciness, Beth.
I would absolutely love to do that, Tessa. Radical is a great word to describe my transformation, both personal and the personal transformation leading to professional transformation. So the person talking to you today is radically different than the person who would have been sitting in this seat talking to you 5 years ago. So I wouldn't have even known 5 years ago that I needed to go on a healing journey and heal from some hurtful things that I have had in my past. I stepped into a hypnotherapy room in June of 2020, and the person who walked into that room never walked out. I walked out. This version of me, moving toward my highest and best self, walked out.
You know, in 2020, a lot of people didn't come out the same, but you specifically intentionally went to a new place and you did your deep work. You weren't sitting around in fear and all of that stuff that was going on or just frozenness. You were taking action, and I really admire that about you.
Yeah. And fortunately for me, this had nothing to do with COVID, what the world was experiencing at the time, although I was in probably the right place. Well, not probably, it wasn't the right place for me at the time to be going through the healing journey that I went through, and what was happening in the world at the time sort of aligned to what I was going through at that time. But you mentioned fear. When I came back to my conscious awareness in that hypnotherapy session, I met the inside of a wall that I had never known before. And the wall at that point in time was 45 years tall and 45 years thick. And it held all of my trauma and all of my abuse and all of my unprocessed emotions that went along with that. And it was like a fortress around me. And I felt I was very alone and lonely behind that wall and scared, really fearful when I first discovered it because I literally had no idea that it existed before I stepped in to the
Well,
hypnotherapy room. So
right. Well, what took you there? Like, what was the
this is
impetus? Like, you're like,
interesting.
because no, people don't just jump into hypnotherapy,
Yeah.
right? It had to be a big thing.
Well, and actually, it wasn't that big of a thing. So the hypnotherapy itself was my life quake moment, right? It was my life altering moment was going through the hypnotherapy. And I'm going to jump forward just a little bit. So my life, and I think for many of us, when you look back at your life and the path that you've been on, the journey that you've been on, you can see how the path progresses, right? At least I can. I can see it so vividly since June of 2020. And of course, I've looked back to see how I got to that point, but it's been an incredible journey for me since June of 2020, healing and getting to this place where I am today with the work that I do. And I'm coming back to your question about why I went to hypnotherapy. So I will start writing my second book in this year in 2025. And it will be something around mastering relationships because I've been on an exploration for the last 2 or 3 years to really understand love, the essence of love
Mm.
across many different types of relationships. Right. And so that's all I know because this book is coming. Interestingly enough, when I went to hypnotherapy, I had taken a promotion at work. And the new job was going to require me to really spend a lot of time developing deeper relationships with people, both our clients as well as my team that I was responsible for. And I felt some angst about that. I don't like, can I do this? I don't like, can I really do this? And so I was talking to my medical doctor one day and she was, oh, hey, how's it going? And I was telling her how I was feeling and what had happened, just what I told you about the promotion, how I was feeling about that. And she said to me, well, we have this hypnotherapist on staff and she might be able to help you. She's the kind of therapist that helps you if you want to lose weight or you want to stop smoking or whatever it is. And so maybe she can help you with that. I was like, oh, yeah, well, sure, I'll go do it. And,
Of
part
course.
of of course, as one does, oh, yeah, I'll just go have hypnotherapy. I will say about that, the reason that I was so sort of nonchalant about it is that I've been to a lot of therapy in my life, even before that. I mean, for 25 years before, I've been trying to get help unsuccessfully because I had no idea why I was trying to get help, which is part of my story.
Mm.
So the idea of going to another type of therapy I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'm very open-minded as well. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. No big deal. I had no idea what was going to happen to me. And that was one of the most terrifying events of my life was going through the hypnotherapy, what actually happened during the therapy session.
Oh
It
my
was very
goodness.
terrifying because it was an awakening for me. So it was bringing together knowledge that I had in my mind, but events and things that people had said that lived separately and independently in my mind, and they all coalesced together. And I had a realization of what they all meant, including one of the events was a long event. It was a 15-year recurring nightmare that I had over and over and over again. And I finally understood what the nightmare meant, and all of it, pointed back to one of my truths and one of my realities is that I was sexually abused by my grandfather when I was 5. And that's what that hypnotherapy event was all bringing a series of events together in my mind to open my mind to go, oh, that's what that was. And it wasn't that crystal clear, oh, that's what that was in that moment, but I knew it was obviously very profound, the awakening that I had in that hypnotherapy event. And then, as I mentioned earlier, coming to afterward was equally terrifying because I meet the inside of this massive wall and I realize that I'm in a place of I don't know myself. And if I don't know myself, that means nobody else can possibly know who I am. And now here I am trapped behind this wall that I can't get out of, and nobody can get in to me. And that was the
Oh,
angst that I was feeling about relationships, right? And that's what led me there to go to the hypnotherapy session, was that feeling that I was having that just all came to the forefront. And now, of course, I understand it much more because I've been, through my journey and done my healing work. So yeah, so that set me on a path that I'm still on today. I believe today that we're all always going to be healing, because interactions with humans is just part of our human experience. And so we get hurt from time to time in various ways. And that means we need to heal. I'm much quicker at it now. I have better tools and resources and can respond much more effectively and healthily than I ever did in the
healthfully.
past.
Yes, I think
Yes.
that's probably a key word right there. Because you
Yes.
were responding before,
I would
or
call it reacting,
reacting. Okay, yes,
and
that's
living
more.
in some very unhealthy ways. Is what I was doing before.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it wasn't great.
survival
Survival, typical
reactions
survival. Yeah,
and
yes, that's
choices.
right.
Yeah, of
That's right.
course.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the
Yeah.
compartmentalization that you talk about, like having gone into the session and then suddenly it's bigger and more of a fortress than you could ever have imagined. Like you
Mm,
were just going to get some like professional support. Like, how can I be better at this job? Can I do
exactly.
it? I don't really have the confidence. What's going on? And then, bam, you start seeing things. It must have been really intense for you when you started to see how the compartmentalized information was connecting to past events, and then the news story revealed itself. What helped you get through that when you had like the shock of all of that? What helped you survive that, Beth?
Yeah. So for me, the word heal is an acronym that means to hope, evolve, and love. Right. All in action. Hope, evolve, and love. All as actions. And it was the hope that got me through, having hope. So I'm a naturally very hopeful person. I would call myself a three quarters full kind of girl. That's just the way I am. I go through life being hopeful and
Mm-hmm.
positive about life. But in that moment, when I came back to conscious awareness after the hypnotherapy and what I'd been through and what I realized in the moment, I was in a place of deep despair almost immediately, and a sense of hopelessness, because I was facing the reality that now have this massive problem that I need to overcome. And how am I going to do that? And I had no idea where I was going to start. And it took me about 2 weeks of being in that place of deep despair and hopelessness by myself, and some things that were happening with my now ex-husband that weren't helpful to me, that just sort of continued to send me to that
Mm,
place
mm,
of really having
yeah.
no hope. And I finally got the courage to tell two of my friends who had initially been work colleagues, and we had developed a friendship. It was a good friendship, but it was about to go like next level, really next level deep with what I was about to tell them, and how I have now brought them into my life, where they are a key. I mean, they're near to my heart and a key part of my tribe. But one of those women, in the early days of her career, she had been a prosecutor of perpetrators of child sexual abuse.
Mm,
And so the night I'm telling them about what I was experiencing, and this was in a time when I had no vocabulary to properly talk about either the abuse that I've been through or the ways in which I was surviving. I had none of I couldn't talk. I could tell you conceptually and then long contorted explanations, like sort of definitionally, but I didn't have the specific language. And that night,
yeah.
that's how I'm talking to them. And because of her experience, she knew exactly what I was talking about. And so she began returning words to me that are the beginning of me getting that vocabulary that I
Mm,
needed. So for example, I suffer from dissociation. So I just don't record when I'm in a traumatic or abusive situation. I just stop recording. And I had my way that I used to talk about that, like interrogating people about how their brains worked with their memories. And do you have your memories? And I don't. What do yours look like? And, so was sharing this with her, and she was like, that's dissociation. It's like, that's dissociative amnesia. So she's saying things to me. And I was like, she's like hitting me, kind of like throwing beanbags at me. But every time I was like, oh, well. And I think it was not only that, like acceptance, seeing me, maybe being seen for the first time for who I truly am. But it was also the first time that I ever felt unconditional love. And so that was the night that my hope started coming back. And, it's just that
Mhm.
I've, been on this amazing journey that has, hope has just kind of fueled itself as I've gone along. But, that's why I tell people that, when you're in that place, you find yourself in that place of despair, even though you feel hopeless, hope is what you need, that you can get through and you can push through and get to a healthier place.
Yes, and you didn't know it was going to be these people necessarily that were, you weren't like, I need hope. You were just hopeless,
I was like, I
right?
need to talk.
Yeah,
That's where I
you
was like,
did know that. Yes. So there's
yes,
like this
yes,
urge to talk. And I think that's
that's right.
really great to bring out. I notice when I work with people in roadblock removal sessions that when they've been holding information, right? And they've been holding on and isolating. And so recognizing that need to actually talk is huge for
It
any
is.
kind of transformation, right? And
Yeah,
so you knew somehow inside yourself, you knew you needed to open things up, and you chose wisely. You chose some people that wound up being very supportive and miraculously so, even more supportive
yes,
than just love. But I really love what you're saying here, because your colleague, your friend, didn't just give you, the words based on her skill set. It really was. That's not what gave you hope.
yeah,
What gave you hope was the love that you
yes,
experienced in the
yes,
space, and you
yes,
felt that. And
yes, yes.
so,
You might make me a little bit
yeah,
emotional with that. Yes,
yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah,
it's a beautiful
yeah,
thing when it
it
happens, and
is.
we can all too easily, relegate that to, oh yeah, just love somebody, or they'll love them, they'll find some love or whatever. There's all kinds of things, ways we dismiss it,
Mm,
but it's
mm,
actually very key to all of our existences. Each one of us, our existence is predicated on having love, receiving love. Otherwise, our souls die.
that's
And
exactly
I'm
right.
glad
Yeah,
that you received
yeah,
that love.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
And
well, and I had to go on a long journey to learn how to receive love beyond
well,
that
yeah.
because
Yes,
of
it's
my
overwhelming at
past.
first,
So,
right? Like,
yeah, but I didn't, now that I look back on what I've been through and, I mean, I've said this already and we've used the word a couple times now, radical. I mean, I literally am a completely different human being today than the one
yes.
who I was then. But, if I took the body of what I know now that I was going to experience and go through and go back to that day, I would have two reactions based on what I know sitting here today. My first would be I would be absolutely terrified because I was about to go into the most difficult time I'd ever had in my life. So I went through
Mm,
9 months of really, I mean, healing is not for the faint of heart. What I had to go through to get myself to where I am now is not easy, but it's the only way out of it. It's the only way to end the suffering. So I had no choice. And I knew in the moment when I committed that I was going to do whatever it took to heal. I didn't know what that meant. And so
right.
now that I have that body of knowledge of what that meant, I would tell you I would be terrified in that place. But I would also tell you now, knowing what I know, because of where I've come to, it's been a beautiful journey, the most excruciatingly painful period of my life, but absolutely exquisite in its beauty, what I've been through. And so
Mm,
for that reason, even though I would be sitting there terrified, knowing that, I'm about to go into, Mordor and, just really difficult places, I know what's on the other side. And so for that reason, I would tell myself at that time, just push through. You're going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
so you talked to yourself, you knew on some level that you would be okay, that there was no other option, really.
No, no
Healing
other
was not an
option.
option,
No, it was
to
the only
life, for
option.
life. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
it
the
was the
only
only
option.
option.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you now help other people, and by helping them determine, who to work with, and people who've been through huge huge, shocking things in their
Yeah,
lives. And
yeah.
so tell us a little bit about that, and, how you're doing that these days.
So I call myself a healing mentor, and that's intentional because, mentors pass on and help other people based on their own lived experiences. And that's
Yes.
what I do. And I've wrestled with, should I be a coach? And it seems a little bit cliche in this day and time with all the life coaches that seem to be coming out, particularly the profession that I came from. That's what they're doing when they're retiring, is becoming life coaches. But, that also means you've got to go through a prescriptive process of telling somebody, well, go set some goals so that we can get you through your goals in a whatever that SMART acronym, that SMART way, right? We're going to get you,
Smart goals. Yep.
which is just completely completely irrelevant in the context of healing, right? You're not, I mean, the goal is to heal. Okay, but okay,
Yeah.
that's my goal, is to
Healing's
heal.
not about goals, right? I
Totally, it's
mean,
not about goals. It's
people
not.
want results, but it's more about the intention,
Yeah, it is about
what
the
I find.
intention. I
Yeah.
agree with you. It is. And I also tell people that each of us as survivors have experienced unique trauma and abuse. We've experienced unique survivorship. Right? So the way I survived is completely unique to me. What I experience is completely unique to me. And
Yes.
therefore, that means that the way that I heal needs to be completely unique to me. And so I talk to people about the different tools and resources that I've used personally. And that is really about sparking ideas. Maybe you're going to use those tools and maybe you're not. And we can talk about other tools that you already use, or together we find new tools. And then as you're using those tools, how do you adapt those tools to make them work for you? And a great example of that I always use with people is my experience with trauma therapy. And as I mentioned earlier, I'd been through 25 years of therapy before I got into trauma therapy, which was about probably about probably about 5 weeks after, probably not 3 weeks after I'd had the hypnotherapy. I started trauma therapy with a woman that I still work with today, and I may work with her. I said before, I'm always going to be healing, so I may always have Monica in my life for that reason. But even in the trauma therapy, I had to adapt it to work for me, and I had to work with her to adapt it for me, because I had this issue of the dissociation, which for a while my operating premise was that I was repressing memories and that they were still there, but my mind had just chosen to say, yeah, we don't need those front in our conscious mind, so we're just going to put those in the
Right.
bag somewhere. And I
Makes
am not
sense.
one of those that had a need to excavate and go digging up what happened to me. I knew enough at the point that I went into trauma therapy, and I would learn more as I went through the process. But I didn't have a need to excavate. And so I told her, if my brain has decided that we don't need to know about it, then we don't need to know. And so we had to adapt some of the modalities that she used with me to not trigger those memories back in. And we were able to do that successfully. But that's the kind of fine tuning of a modality, a healing resource or a tool, in this case, a therapy modality, to work specifically for me and what I needed. And so that kind of thing, I've had, a lot of experience with what I used to call couch therapists, and some people don't like it when I call them that, but I sat on their couches forever and never got any help from them. So being able to talk with people about, why is it that you're not connecting? Is it a them? Is it a you? You're not ready? What is it? So it's really, I mean, that's why I call myself a mentor, because that's what I do, is really based on my experiences, help people to figure out what is your unique path to healing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you found your niche
Yes.
and you listen to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
People, I think this is really key, especially in our culture where there's so much pressure to do what other people do, and to, that's a one-stop shop, just go do that, or just do this, this will work. We hear it all the time
Oh, yeah.
in the self-development
Oh, yeah.
world, just do this and you're going to get XYZ. It's never like that.
Never. Never.
It's all a process, right? It's the
It is.
journey.
It is the
And
journey.
yeah. So
Luckily for me, I'm a rebel and a nonconformist. So I had to find my own path.
yeah. Yeah, there's
I
a
was just
there's a
going to do
fighting
it.
spirit in there, and
Yeah.
you're looking for answers outside the boxes, which is
Yeah.
great. And I certainly would encourage everybody to do that as
Me
much as
too.
possible. And when we can't do it for ourselves, we go to somebody who can help us to do that, right? To look outside the box. And it sounds like that's part of what you're doing.
Yes.
Certainly a big part of what I'm doing. I think
Yes.
is one of the pieces that really helps people the most is to see the things that they can't see, right?
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing. I'd like to ask you, how have you said yes to your soul, other than the obvious, right? What is like a special little way in your inner world, Beth, that you have done to say yes to your soul? What does that look like?
I have done the work to understand what my soul is here in this lifetime to do. And you could say that comes back to life purpose, finding my life purpose. And I am completely committed to living my life purpose. So doing what my soul came here to do. And that is to have been a victim in the moment that I was hurt, to have survived my life the way that I survived it, and then to go on this amazing healing journey so I can pass it on to other people. And I have no
Yes.
doubt that is what my soul is here to do in this lifetime. And it lights me on fire. I'm super grateful for it, and I absolutely love doing the work.
Yes, indeed. And there's healing within that too, right? A
100%.
joyful kind of healing. The more that you can give back, the more healing happens and the more love there is as in heal, bringing in that love. So,
yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's the reason why we heal, is for love and to spread love far beyond each one of us.
Absolutely. Yes. Like the vibration of love is so, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but its impact reaches beyond everything that we know with our minds.
Yes.
We can literally love something into existence. We can love something into being healed, to being forgiven, to being released, to being expansive. And I'm glad that you brought that here today to remind us all about the power of love. Yeah.
It's ultimately what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to give you an opportunity to let our listeners know how they could connect with you.
Thank you. That would be lovely. You can find me on the internet at empoweredsurvivors.com. And there is an S on the end of that because I'm on a mission to make many of us empowered survivors. You can also find me on most of the social media platforms at Beth Jones Healing Mentor. That's where you can find me.
Great. So we'll make sure that handle is in there at Beth Jones Healing Mentor. There you have it. And your gift is all about you, Beth, and showing up not just for yourself, but for others, really passing this love along. And before we go, I'd like to know if you have a suggestion, or maybe it's advice, I don't know, you might want to call it guidance, like something that's coming right now in this moment that you would like to leave the listeners with today.
I would just like to say that if you are a survivor of trauma and abuse, which, spoiler alert, we all are, if you are, and you have not had an opportunity to step onto your healing pathway and to take that journey, I would love to inspire you in this moment to do that and to do whatever it takes to heal yourself, because life on the other side is amazing. So that's what I would really hope for all of your listeners. If that's something that they need to do, that they would just do it.
Thank you. Yes. So you heard it. Life is better on the other side. Beth knows it. I know it. My clients know it. Like, once you've done that, as weird as it might sound or feel or scary, you can get through it. Yeah, it often is. Yeah. It's like, because we think we're facing such big demons, and then when healing occurs, we realize, oh, we just really needed to step into love, but we still had to face them down.
Yes.
But love ourselves through it. Yes. And get the support to do that. So I'm really glad you were here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Fun. Great. Okay. Well, we're going to say goodbye for now. And in the meantime, I want to give all of you that space to listen to yourself. Listen to those urges when you feel you might have the need to talk. Follow through on that. Find the safe people to talk to. Ask for support. Even if you don't know what it's going to look like, just ask for loving support and take a chance on yourself. All right. That's it for today. And I look forward to being with you next week. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on this soul-nourishing journey today. I hope you're feeling inspired to embrace the stillness of the winter season. Connect with your inner wisdom and allow space for your soul to rest and regenerate. Remember, the darkness of winter is not something to fear, or to rush through. It's a powerful time for growth, for healing, and for accessing divine guidance. Before you go, I'd love to invite you to take a moment to reflect on today's episode and perhaps explore the meditation I've created just for you. It's designed to help you connect with the angelic realms and invite love and guidance into your life. You can find it at sayyestoyoursoulpodcast.com/multiverse meditation, and I'll also link it in the show notes for you. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review and share it with someone you think might benefit from this message. You deserve to say yes to your soul, and I'm here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, take a deep breath, honor the quiet, and trust that the universe is working in your favor. Stay present, stay connected, and most of all, stay true to you.